Time is sensitive. So Hidde, why don't you take it away with your update?
All right. So before I jump into this, some of you are fully aware of everything that's happening inside the Filecoin Plus community. Some of you are completely unaware and don't want to be involved. And some of you simply don't really care and are focused on maybe some more important stuff. But for the community as a whole, for the miners, for the financials, for the things that everybody looks at, growth, Filecoin lockup, revenue models, the block rewards, everything is tied and connected. And most of that is tied and connected to the onboarding rate. And the onboarding rate is 99% somewhat verified. That means almost everything that the community and the network is doing comes from Filecoin Plus, which is not a bad thing inherently. The issue comes from the fact that a lot of entities say Filecoin Plus needs to be removed. It's trust layer on top of a trustless system, and this is inherently flawed. They have a valid point. I don't fully disagree, but we are where we are right now, and I don't see Filecoin Plus being removed anytime soon. So what we are trying to do is to work together with the Filecoin Plus governance team, with Simon and with RJ and with Kevin and Deep, and just try to build tools and dashboards to make it visible what's happening. We've been doing that for the last 6 months. We were also extremely active in the community as a data preparer for a lot of science data sets from HWS. And what we are now trying to do is we're trying to rally and inform the SP community to join everything that's going on in the Filecoin Plus community. Because what we are now seeing is a small group of really active notaries and clients with accounts and no reputation have a really great impact on what we as a Filecoin community do and think. And I would love to see more SPs joining the space because there's a lot of important discussions going on there about notaries, about removal, about abuse, about fraud, about a lot of stuff. And I only see a small to maybe 1 or 2 SPs globally join this discussion. So I would love to rally more of those. I want to give you guys the opportunity to ask a lot of questions after this, but I want to show you 2 things. I want to show you a good example, and I want to show you a bad example of an LDN, because most of the entities, they open LDN, a given number between 0 and 2200, and they don't know what they're looking at. So let me give you an example of a good entity. I have one listed right here. Give me 1 second. This is an example of Deckhouse, an entity that works closely with Protocol Labs on onboarding a lot of useful stuff through the Web3 storage interface. This is an example. They are working with PL directly, so the trust is really nothing we should talk about. Still do due diligence and ask questions, but with someone works directly with PL, it should probably be really high quality. If we go down to the retrieval bots, some notaries are asking questions, which is always good, but we can check here. Retrievability is fairly low, still 24%, but the retrieval bot is quite new, so these things are improving. I will show that later. There is some CID sharing, but all of these CID sharing are from Textile and from Estuary because it's the same data being stored by a different entity because these guys are stopping. We can go to the CID checker report. We can take a look at the notaries who approved it. Are these notaries questionable? Are these notaries proper? There should be a dashboard coming online pretty soon to check and follow all these things. And we can take a look here at where the notaries are, their regions, their potential VPN use I can show later, but all of their data stored. And we can actually see a world map, and this is something distribution should look like. You can see a few good active entities, SPs in Europe, in America, in Asia, even in Australia. And then we have the distribution as well. It's distributed pretty fairly. This is an example of how an LDN request should look like. Now, we also have an example of some, oh, 1 second. What an LDN application should not look like. This is one of the examples. I have many more, but let's just scroll right through this. You can show here that a lot of this data prep is packed in the same region, which is not inherently flawed, but this is something we'd rather not see. Well, this is application 1556. And if we open the fraud and abuse dashboard that we will launch soon for the community to use, we can actually type in 1556. We can open this datacap request, and we can see a lot more than we can just see in GitHub. For example, we can now see all the details from all of the SPs that have been storing data through datacap from this client address. So we can see a lot of information. This dashboard tool looks at everything that has ever happened on Filecoin Plus, uses blockchain data and the data from KYCs done on the platform and on the GitHub application itself. And it can clearly state you a few things. First of all, a VPN checker, which is useful to suggest that entities are not in the location where they are. It's not 100% correct, and using a VPN is not illegal at all. But if you have one entity with a miner ID 112, 113, 114, 115, and they are perfectly distributed around the globe, you can fairly safely say that this is probably at the same location. We can also see abuse types. Abuse type 1 means that the data that is stored, the CIDs, are already stored on multiple other clients and LDN applications. You can just see, okay, wait a second, it's very nice that you stored this, but it wasn't retrieval first. Now you made it retrievable, and now we can just see that it's the same data that's stored on a lot of other LDNs. Typing, potential abuse. Abuse type 3 is the miner is just not retrievable, so you can't really check what is going on and what is where. And you can just take a look at this dashboard, and you can clearly see, hey, this entity was not storing data with the best intentions in mind. Second thing, what happens is Decent and Spedium, why not Ben or my other partners, they open up this abuse tool, they ask questions on GitHub, and then we would like to see some more involvement from the community, because right now it is either us or someone from the Filecoin Plus governance teams or all the people who are disputed, and that is a really weird conversation to have. So the last link I'm going to show you is the link for the abuse itself. You can see the governance issues, and let me paste this in chat for everybody to follow. Here you go. All the things that are disputed will be displayed and shown in here. And we have a dispute tracker that RG is using as well. We just ask the community, join the conversation a bit more, ask questions. And if evidence is shown, you can just question the entity. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's going to be a pretty lonely fight, and I don't want to be at us against them. So here we go. That's just what I wanted to say to you, and love to open the floor to all the questions we have here. Most of them are probably super valid. And again, asking questions is way more helpful than being silent there in the open.
Questions for Hidde?
Hidde, I have a question around, is there, you showed like, you know, like an abuse score maybe, or whatever that was. Is there a number of copies that once it goes over that number, it becomes abusive, or how does that work? What are the details behind that?
Yeah, so to begin with the beginning, before the CID checker was released in January this year, almost all of the data was CID shared. That meaning a client packs one set of 32 gigabytes and just stores it a million times because nobody knew or could see it. Then the abuse tool got released, and we can see that all the applications before like 800, like 90% of that is heavy CID abuse. Well, then the people who are abusing started like, okay, wait, now they have a tool, so we need to change our tactics to make the tool look good. So they started using VPN services to be distributed, so the tool won't detect. They started repacking CIDs with 1 or 2 bytes difference, so your CID will be as well. So what we now see a lot is the same picture stored a million times with padding, but every time that padding is a few bytes more or less. So the CID will be different. All these tactics are now implemented to spoof the CID checker. So now a month ago, the retrieval bot was launched, which is super useful. You can just say, hey guys, nice that you stored 5 pips, but I cannot retrieve one single byte from all these entities. So why should we grant you more data cap? It's a rule. You should be readily retrievable. Then they open up the retrieval, then you download the files, then it's empty padding. So time and time again, it's the question of, we know there's abuse. It's between a little bit and a lot. And we need to make tools correct so that they will detect it and stop it. And we need to give the keys to the kingdom to automatic bots on GitHub or whatever, who we all trust with the rules. We don't want to enforce it. We are not police. Some of these people are trying to do the right thing, but they are caught in the fire. So we just need to make sure that our tools are perfect, and the retrieval bot is super useful. And every time we have better toolings, we detect more potential abuse. So we're just trying to make it public. If I ask a question about abuse and this guy or this woman is not abusive, they can just say, hey man, it's not correct, and here's my evidence, and then we're done. But most of the times there is no factual response capability for them, because that on-chain data is the on-chain data.
Yep. Okay.
I had a question.
That was really helpful. Thank you.
Question from the chat. How can I test my SP against the retrieval bot?
Yeah, well, I'll show you. There's multiple ways. Wait, I will show you screen share for the third time. Sorry. There are multiple ways of doing this. First of all, you can there is a retrieval bot dashboard released where you can just search for all the active clients, and a client is an LDN most of the time, like 99.9%. A separate LDN is a separate client. You can just click on that client. The dashboard needs a minute to load. It will show you all the retrieval capabilities of that LDN. And if your miner is included, it will also show your miner. Or even easier, you can just go to provider and fill in one of the miners you know, and it will showcase you the retrieval statistics from the last month, which is extremely useful. Some miners choose to only have GraphSync enabled. Some miners only have HTTP. Some miners have both. You can just see what's happening, and if they are. And the nice thing about self-healing for this Filecoin Plus ecosystem is, once we get everybody on retrieval, if we stop allowing non-retrievable miners to get data cap, all of them will be retrievable, and then we can check the validity of the data. And if it's correct, happy me, then we're done. If we can store and showcase to the world that we can store an exabyte of data on a blockchain and it's retrievable, that's win-win for everyone. Then the whole network becomes more valuable. But empty bits or a picture with 31 gigabytes of padding, making no one happy here.
One more question from the chat. I think you're touching on this a little bit. Is there a way to consolidate this information to understand the percentage of the overall network, i.e. how many bad actors, how much overall capacity is being tied to these actors, or how much FIL reward is being awarded to these actors, and so on?
Yeah, so what we are seeing right now is that the Filecoin Plus team has increased their own due diligence by implementing new KYCs and more questions and more proofs. So the amount of data cap that's been onboarded is slowing. I don't see any of the good actors having any problems with this, because they have a reputation that's high enough for them to continue with sealing, while a lot of these new entities having trouble getting data cap. What we now also see is a lot of old data cap from closed application from months and months ago, from potential abusers or from valid entities, to suddenly be sealed in a day, 20 pips like this, which is highly questionable. But they are now using up the old still open data cap, because there's not that much new data cap being signed, which is a good thing, because we should focus on quality now, not quantity. And on the dashboard I'm showing you, it's quality.datasets.io. You can see an estimation of the amount of data cap that's unknown, abusive, or valuable. And how that's exactly measured, you need to ask Deep and Galen. I have a difficulty pointing fingers and calling people scammers right away. But if I downloaded something that should be football videos and it's eventually some planned, I mean, facts are facts. If you're not retrievable or what's inside your deal is invalid, then you are being pointed out with the like what happened, and your miners will be listed. And it's just that we need to clean this mess up because it's not helping anyone.
We have KZ from the Phil Plus team joining us today. KZ, any additional color or perspective you'd like to add?
Yeah, thanks, Porter. So I think Hidde nailed a lot of the points, obviously, that he's focused on, and from our side, we're more focused on the clients, right? So Phil Plus is about awarding data cap to clients. So we can show a lot of statistics about the SPs. If we want to talk to the clients who are applying, we can hold them accountable to say, hey, why are you using these SPs? Like we can't necessarily shut down an application because of the SPs listed or anything like that. But we can go to clients, and now that we have a lot more information, we can question them about everything and say, well, why isn't your data distributed? Why aren't your SPs, retrievable? All these types of things. And now they know they're being challenged, so they need to be more upfront about what they're doing. And this is the other piece of what we're doing. We're iterating on sort of upfront trust layers. So we're asking more information about the SPs they're working with, the entities, where they're located, who they are themselves. This was all something that we did in FIL, the enterprise pilot. We require all this information up front, and now it's sort of shifting over to, I think, more broadly to all applications eventually, because it's just becoming a requirement to really build that trust of who's using Phil Plus.
KZ, where do you think we could get to as a network by focusing on clients? Do you guys see like a future state, or I know it's again possible to predict in Filecoin, but like where do you think you can get to end of year, this time next year? Any thoughts there?
Actually, I would defer to the client growth team, that they're sort of working with more use cases and examples out there. I'm just dealing with who's actually applying for data cap and who's working within Phil Plus. So I don't have a good answer for you, Porter.
Have they been receptive to like this ongoing conversation to like make sure you're honing in on clients, or has that been a difficult process?
Who's they? Sorry.
Well, like you're trying to focus on the clients, trying to make sure that it's quality in. You're asking questions, kind of challenging, if you will. Have they been responsive? Receptive to these inquiries?
Yes, for the most part. I think I don't know if Hidde touched on this exactly, but obviously we're going after potential abusers in the system. They're not going to be happy with what we're doing, so we do get a bit of pushback. I think more so at probably Hidde and his team at this point, because they're really directly attacking a lot of entities. But obviously they can't challenge when we're asking them like legitimate questions about who they are, what they're storing, where they're storing. I mean, so no, I'm not getting much pushback from our side yet.
No, it's just it is the reason why I'm asking the community to join this is because I have talked to almost everybody inside the active community. I've been here for the last 2.5 years with all of you guys. All of you are giving me a pat on the back for doing the good work, but all of you remain silent because it's so much negativity. Nobody wants to be involved. And I respect that, but I also hate that answer because we are. And we should get more people to say, hey guys, this is the limit. We're not going to do this anymore. If you see a CID report, 100% self-dealed, 1 petabyte, same location, all CID shared, and one notary response, looks good, signs. I mean, it's out in the open. It's all clear. Most of the disputes are not really disputable. They're just facts and questions. And if they're not answered, like with a valid response and just hate or no, you are the problem, then just close the application and make statements, because we should not accept this as a community. And I am a bit tired of talking for each and everyone who agrees with me. You should be voiced and heard yourself as well. Just comment. stay away from the negativity. But if there are questions on the GitHub post or on the LDNs or in Filecoin Plus, just let people know that you're also there.
Hidde, I do have a question.
Yeah.
It was based on a statement you made earlier. Just, what do you see in terms of throwaway GitHub accounts? And like, I know that's not directly correlated to this issue, but it is something that's tied to this conversation. I'm just curious if you what's the trend in, these people just kind of creating these GitHub accounts and then throwing them away?
Yeah, so there's actually, again, nothing wrong with a new GitHub account. Someone could be a valid customer. But what we see time and time again is that they just create new wallets, new GitHub accounts, just to have no repercussions for when things go wrong. And if you can just create a new GitHub account, ask for 10 PB, and be granted by the notaries, that's not what's supposed to happen. If you have a multiplier as large as 10x, 1,000% on your mining rewards, it should be restricted to an extreme level and only be given out to people who really add value to the ecosystem. If that means create a new GitHub account, ask a question, and you get it granted, that's, of course, if I could do that at FF for $1 million just to add a new car and they just grant it, that they will never do that. They will ask a million questions before I get any funds. But now we are on Filecoin Plus, which is maybe even more valuable than euros or dollars, but it gets granted like this. We should just check and ask for people, hey, you have a new account, new business, love to help you. Why don't we start with 10 terabytes? Showcase your distribution, showcase your packing skills, and just continue on. But every time they use a new account, and we all know why, and it just, the fight is annoying. It's clear for everybody to see. And we do value people who use the same account, because then you can see the history, you can see what they already try to improve themselves, not the other things. Slight improvements are highly valued, but we just see new GitHub accounts with the same notaries without repercussions, signing, no due diligence, and that just should stop right now. It has been enough.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thanks.